Radar return the size of a golf ball. Speed 115 miles per hour. On the glass of an AN/SPY-1D array. It's a flickering ghost, but the Aegis combat system only believes in physics. And absolute dominance. 94 seconds to impact. Inside the Combat Information Center of an Arleigh Burke destroyer, the silence is lethal. Track 7042. Speed 100 knots. Profile Iranian-launched, Russian-supplied Tehran-2 loitering munition. Target U.S. sailors. Suddenly, the silence shatters. A RIM-116. Rolling airframe missile screams off the rail with a violent roar, its infrared seeker waking up mid-flight, hungry for the friction heat of a fiberglass nose cone. 42 seconds to impact. No pilot, no mercy. Just a 100-pound warhead on a collision course with a billion-dollar American warship. This is the front line of a new world order, where a $30,000 drone meets a $1.3 billion kill chain. Who blinks first? Welcome to the era of the $30,000 ultimatum. The RIM-116 executes a 3-degree correction at Mach 2, approximately 1,534 miles per hour. The intercept occurs 3 meters from the ship. The 25-pound fragmentation warhead detonates in a blinding flash, releasing a cloud of tungsten pellets that turn the Russian-built airframe into 5,000 pieces of shredded carbon fiber and atomized fuel. The Garand disintegrates in midair, its remains raining harmlessly into the sea as the destroyer presses forward undeterred. This is the U.S. Navy's $30,000 kill chain logic in brutal, heart-pounding action, a masterclass in asymmetric dominance that leaves Russia and Iran reeling from yet another humiliating defeat in the Persian Gulf. This single kill of the lead Garand II drone is only the opening act in a savage new chapter of Middle East warfare, where the Kremlin and Tehran have openly forged a deadly alliance to challenge American naval supremacy in the most treacherous waters on Earth. You can almost feel the tension crackling across the carrier strike group as Western intelligence, after months of relentless tracking, exposes a fundamental and deeply treacherous shift in the tactical axis of the region. For years, the deadly flow of loitering munitions ran exclusively from Tehran to Moscow to fuel the brutal war in Ukraine. Now the pipeline has reversed with cold-blooded, calculated intent. The Kremlin is shipping Russian localized variants of the Shahed 136, rebranded as the Garand II, straight back to Iran in a blatant act of aggression designed to bleed the United States Navy dry through sheer, overwhelming numbers. These shipments carry hardened guidance systems, battlefield-tested anti-jamming technology straight from the Russian front lines, and localized manufacturing secrets, all wrapped in the Kremlin's familiar diplomatic denial that dismisses every report as Western fabrication. Yet the kill web sees through every lie with crystal clarity. High above the clouds, the SBIRS satellite constellation locks onto the specific thermal signatures of Russian heavy-lift transport aircraft. An Ilyushin IL-76 lifts off from a military airfield near the Russian border. Its massive cargo hold packed with crates of modular drone components upgraded with the latest Komet-M satellite receivers. Aegis tracks the aircraft in real time as it crosses the Caspian Sea and slips brazenly into Iranian airspace, the data fusing instantly into the regional tactical picture and building a perfect digital twin of the entire logistics chain. Every flight duration, every crate weight, every probable battery life of the guidance chips being unboxed on the tarmac is known, cataloged, and already targeted. Visualize the threat in vivid, terrifying detail. Imagine a fleet of battered pickup trucks, each loaded with 100 pounds of high explosives, racing under cover of darkness toward launch sites the size of a football field. Each Garan 2 drone costs roughly $30,000 to produce, cheaper than a mid-sized SUV on an American dealership lot. Russia is not sending precision scalpels. It is unleashing a blizzard of cheap death meant to overwhelm American defenses through sheer volume and force the Navy into a ruinous battle of attrition that would drain billions from the Pentagon's budget. The strategic intent is viciously clear and dripping with malice. Make the United States expend a $2 million Standard Missile to vaporize a $30,000 drone. It is economic warfare disguised as a technological skirmish. A deliberate provocation from a Kremlin-Iran axis that openly despises American power and dreams of closing the Strait of Hormuz to global energy flows, choking the world economy while they cheer from the sidelines. But the kill web is engineered to solve for return on investment with the same ruthless efficiency it solves for intercept geometry, turning the enemy's own numbers against them in a way that feels almost unfair. Sensors on every F-35C, Lightning II flying in the regions feed fresh real-time pixels into the larger picture. The network watches the enemy's inventory in real time long before a single engine ever starts. Every truck route from airfield to hidden coastal launch sites is logged into a shared fleet database with clinical precision. The crates move to mobile rails, often disguised as innocent shipping containers. To the untrained eye, it looks like routine commerce on a dusty Iranian road. To the integrated American network, it registers as a high-priority target set, waiting for the execute command. Every movement tracked like prey in the crosshairs. What do you think when you see Russia arming Iran with these deadly drones while denying everything on the world stage? Does this kind of blatant proxy aggression demand an even stronger American response, or is the Navy's layered defense already enough to keep the sea lanes open and energy prices stable for families back home? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because this story is developing fast. The stakes are rising and we read every single one. The launch comes at exactly 3:14 local time in a deliberate hate-fueled act of provocation. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps unleashes a saturation attack using its new Russian-supplied inventory, firing 40 Garan 2 and Shahed 136 drones in a compressed 3-minute window. Their goal is pure malice: flood the destroyer's radar processors with so many tracks that the system collapses under the weight and lets at least one lethal payload slam into the $1.3 billion warship, delivering the propaganda victory Tehran and Moscow crave. The drones rise from their rails like a swarm of angry low-frequency wasps, hugging the waves at just 150 feet to stay below the radar horizon and strike without warning. On the bridge of the USS Gerald R. Ford, the atmosphere remains one of professional ice-cold focus, while the dual-band radar lights up with the incoming horde. Aegis begins the sorting process, immediately identifying 40 distinct tracks and assigning each a unique digital identifier, while calculating 40 separate intercept points based on wind speed, humidity, and drone velocity. Threat level: high engagement logic, tiered and merciless. The first layer strikes in total silence, the AN/S LQ-3 2 7 electronic warfare suite, flooding the sky with high-gain digital noise aimed straight at the Russian Kometa MGPS receivers inside the drones. This is the soft kill phase, executed with surgical cruelty that leaves the enemy helpless. For 12 of the drones, the world suddenly goes black. Their internal gyroscopes lose satellite lock and begin to drift wildly. Within seconds, 4 bank violently and spiral into the sea, just 5 meters from the coast in fiery crashes. 3 others collide in midair in a shower of sparks and tumbling carbon fiber. But 28 drones press onward with desperate determination, now 30 miles out from the carrier strike group. The screening Arleigh Burke-class destroyer shifts seamlessly into its kinetic sequence, refusing to waste its most expensive weapons first, and following the iron logic of the right tool for the exact range and cost. The RIM-162 Evolved Sea Sparrow missile leaps from its vertical launch cell with a thunderous roar that shakes the deck plates and vibrates through every sailor's boots. It accelerates to Mach 4, more than 3,000 miles per hour in seconds. The blast fragmentation warhead detonates in the center of a 3-drone formation, releasing a sledgehammer wall of high-velocity shrapnel. The drones are not merely disabled, they are pulverized into oblivion. 8 disappear from the screen in the first 12 seconds of the missile engagement. The launch comes at 3:14 local time in a deliberate act of provocation. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps unleashes a saturation attack using its new Russian-supplied inventory, firing 40 Garand II and Shahed 136 drones in a compressed 3-minute window. Their goal is pure malice. Flood the destroyer's radar processors with so many tracks that the system collapses under the weight and lets at least one lethal payload reach the ship. The drones rise from their rails like a swarm of angry low-frequency wasps, hugging the waves at just 150 feet to stay below the radar horizon. On the bridge of the USS Gerald R. Ford, the atmosphere remains one of professional ice-cold focus, while the dual-band radar lights up with the incoming horde. Aegis begins the sorting process immediately, identifying 40 distinct tracks and assigning each a unique digital identifier. It calculates 40 separate intercept points based on wind speed, humidity, and drone velocity, threat level, high engagement logic tiered. The United States Navy does not stop at defense. In the cold logic of the kill web, a successful defense is merely the first half of a devastating counter-battery sequence. While the swarm was still being dismantled, a pair of F/A-18E Super Hornets had already launched from the USS Gerald R. Ford and were orbiting at 30,000 feet. They were not hunting drones. They were hunting the origin. Data from the initial detection of the Russian shipment, the truck routes, the thermal signatures of the launch rails, flows straight into the cockpit of the lead Super Hornet. This is the sensor-to-shooter link in its purest, most lethal form. The pilot does not search. The ship has already painted the target. Coordinates confirmed. Master arm selected. Under the wing, the AGM-154JSOW is ready. The pilot releases the GPS-guided glide bomb, which deploys its wings and begins a silent, stealthy glide toward the Iranian coast over a 70-mile range. It weaves around known air defense radars with ghostly precision. On the ground, IRGC crews scramble to reload their mobile rails, with the next batch of Russian-supplied Garand drones convinced they remain awfully positioned 40 miles inland. The AGM-154 arrives with zero acoustic warning. It simply appears. The 500-pound warhead detonates dead center in the staging area. Russian-built trucks, spare drone crates, and launch rails vanish in a single cataclysmic blast. Secondary explosions ripple outward as fuel bladders ignite, sending towering fireballs into the night sky. SBIRS satellites watch the thermal bloom from orbit and confirm target neutralized with zero collateral. The Super Hornet banks hardened vectors for carrier recovery. The mission erases the enemy's ability to launch a second wave. The logistics chain Russia spent months and millions to build is severed in under 10 minutes. For the Kremlin, this was a strategic gamble that ended in spectacular failure. They invested heavily in arming Iran with their best localized drone technology, hoping to prove that mass-produced, low-cost assets could finally break the back of the United States Navy's integrated defense. Instead, they met software updates, layered electronic fury walls of tungsten, and a counterstrike that turned their supply chain into smoking craters. The economic trap was dismantled by a tiered mix of electronic warfare, 5-inch shells, and close-in guns. The Navy spent only a fraction of the enemy's investment to achieve total victory. The United States did not just win the engagement, it won the return on investment battle outright. This is the brutal reality of the modern kill web. It is not about the biggest gun. It is about the fastest, smartest logic that ensures every Russian shipment and every Iranian launch is answered with a response so efficient the adversary runs out of money and will long before America runs out of ammunition. This is the $30,000 kill chain logic at its finest. 40 Russian drones against a $1.3 billion destroyer, and the Navy spends pennies on the dollar to achieve total victory while the enemy's grand plan lies in smoking ruins. The IRGC commanders now stare at charred launch pads and empty crates, their Russian technology exposed as an analog solution to a digital problem. The threat has been erased from the ledger. The network remains at ready. The sea lanes stay open. The mission continues without pause. The world watches in awe as American technology training and unbreakable will turn every provocation into a lesson the Kremlin and Tehran will never forget. What do you believe comes next after Russia's brazen drone shipments and Iran's failed swarm attack? Will the Kremlin double down with even more advanced weapons, or has the United States Navy just proven once again that no axis of aggression can break American naval dominance? Tell us in the comments, because this conflict is far from over and your voice matters in the conversation that is exploding right now. The kill web is watching. The carriers are sailing, and the United States Navy remains the undisputed master of these dangerous waters. Click subscribe now. Don't miss a single moment of this historic journey. Your time is valuable. We promise analyses as sharp as reality itself. Stay vigilant, stay informed. We'll see you in the next video. Disclaimer: this video contains content generated or supported in whole or in part by artificial intelligence. This material is intended solely for simulation, illustration, and entertainment purposes. It does not represent real-world events, nor does it constitute political or military advice or verified information. Certain elements may be fictional, dramatized, or inaccurate. Viewers should not rely on this video as a credible source of information or as a basis for real-world decision-making.